Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and today I have a special guest. His name is Brandon Elliott. Hey, Brandon, how are you?
Cesar, what's going on, man? I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for being here. So excited to have you on today's podcast. And so before we get started, I just want to give the listeners a little bit of your background, and then we can dive into it. So Brandon is top 100 in finance of 2020. Brandon is a leading authority in real estate and credit. He is experienced and proven results utilize credit to invest in real estate and implement the BRRRR strategy. Brandon owns several thriving businesses that include real estate, credit repair, tradlines company, Walmart automation stores, private mentorships that include high-profile students like former NFL player Dean Rogers, Thayer, and Nick Perry. Man, do you have a lot going on for yourself? So I guess the first thing I have for you is, how do you manage to do all these different things?
Yeah, man, I think time management, right? And at the end of the day, just being very passionate about it.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go back. Let's take it back to the beginning. Where are you originally from, and how was that upbringing for you?
Yeah, so I'm originally from New Jersey. I live out here in San Diego now, sunny San Diego, California. So, but growing up, I grew up like American poor. You know, not like we're still blessed in comparison to other countries around the world. But yeah, single parent mother. She's manic depressive bipolar. So I was the only guy in the house. Two sisters, one older, one younger. We all had different dads. I met my dad for the first time when I was 18 in court, so he could stop paying child support. And so no real like male figures, but the main concern in the household always was like, I felt like we were happy and we always laughed, had a good time, but the main concern in the household was always around money. You know, like, are we going to have enough for utilities this month, keeping the cable on, paying the rent, so forth, you know?
Right, definitely. And kind of growing with just a single parent, right? And being the only male figure per se in the household. Did you ever feel like you had a lot of pressure to do more even as a kid, you know, in your family? Or did you feel like, you know what, I'm out of place because I'm the only male in this place. I got to go out and seek a different a strive or something to that nature?
No, at a very young age, I realized that I had to be the adult for myself. Like, if I wanted a better future, I needed to take ownership and go for it myself, because at a young age, like, my mom was encouraging me to like stay home, and nothing against my mom. My mom is an angel. She did literally the best she could, and she raised three misfits, right, to the best of her ability. But at the end of the day, like, she was encouraging me certain days to stay home and just hang out with her. And as a young kid, like, man, you don't want to go to school. Like, that's exactly what you want to chill at home, right? Play games or whatever. And but knowing that, hey, I got a test later on, and if I don't show up today and I don't take that test, then I'm gonna fall behind, and then I gotta catch up, and it's like, it's a pain. So at a young age, I realized, like, hey, if I want to make something of myself, I really gotta grow up faster. And that was about, like, I don't know, maybe 10, 11 years old.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing that comes to mind too, you know, growing up, again, being with just one single parent, a lot of times people talk about limitations or talk about the ability of not being able to do more because you don't have in this case, in your case, a male figure, right? And so a lot of people utilize that as an excuse to not be able to get ahead in life, or more or less think of, well, because I didn't have a male figure, I didn't know how to deal with those things, and therefore I had some limitations growing up. Did you see that as the case? Yes or no, and if not, why?
Yeah, never. I never. I've never been the type of person to rely on excuses. I could pick anybody could, right? Like, it's so easy to look at all the negative stuff and use that as an excuse not to do something. But man, excuses are useless to me. I'm not an excuse type of person. I'm very action driven. So it's like, when there's a will, there's a way. I've always believed in that. And if you are passionate about it enough, if you care enough to succeed, then you will.
Right. At which point in your life did you, or maybe I can take it back. So we're talking about, excuses are useless. You obviously, if there's a will, there's a way. Obviously, you had your own challenges too growing up, right? I mean, you have 2 felonies, a house arrest from home, explosion. Yet now you've taken all of that, and I always talk about this, right? From pain or from an experience. I won't say a negative experience, because I think everything's an educational experience.
Yeah.
So from an educational experience, something great came out of it, which you have a very successful real estate business and credit specialist business. Talk about the incidents though, because obviously a lot of times we don't, people say, well, they always see the good stuff. There's always something behind that led to that, right? And so let's talk about it for a second.
Yeah, they see the nice cars, they see the nice watches, or the mansions and the babes around, right? But they don't see all the tough work.
Struggle. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So honestly, like I said, man, I grew up just misguided. At the end of the day, I grew up a misfit, and money was the main concern growing up. And when I smoked weed for the first time in like 8th grade, it was with some older girls, with one of my best friends at the time, and I was kind of just guided to do that. And it was the first time of like just laughing and relaxing and not caring, right? Like not putting so much pressure on, is rent going to get paid this month? And I need to worry like how my mom's doing today. And so I quickly realized, hey, I want to keep doing this, but I realized, hey, I'm poor, like how am I going to be able to afford this? So I quickly identified like, hey, if I'm going to smoke, I had to be the one within my small group of friends out of the 3 or 4 of us that supplied it so that I could smoke for free. And that just turned into a snowball effect of, I wasn't used to spending money. So any money that I did make, I would just take back to my guy, get as much as I could, and just keep repeating that process. And after about a year, I'm walking around with 10, 15 pounds of weed, and I'm getting it very cheap. And, it's a snowball effect. So I ended up getting a big name in a negative way.
Right.
And had cops knowing about me, pulling me over left and right. I've had guns in my head, knives to my throat, best friends robbing my house several days before Christmas, like a lot of negative stuff that my life was spiraling out of control in that area. So I moved to the West Coast to try to run away from that stuff. And just because I was moving across the country and some, bad relationships were getting cut off, it didn't change my mindset. I was still, instead I was growing out here, thought I was doing it legally because I had my little ID card, and I'm mailing stuff in the mail back home and wholesaling basically.
Yeah.
And I had an explosion in my apartment making hash oil, long story short. God 100% saved me, and I was wearing baseball gloves. I don't like baseball. I don't play baseball, but I had baseball gloves in my house, so I put them on so I didn't get like nasty that day. And that saved my arms because I have skin graft right up to my wrist.
Yeah.
I mean, my shorts and my shirt burnt off me. I had socks on that protected my feet. I mean, I had an explosion and I was on fire, and they induced me into a coma for a week. I woke up a week later. I was like, what the heck is this? I was in a lot of pain, and I had to learn how to walk again. I went through 3 surgeries. I'm basically 3 weeks in the hospital. I was able to leave, and I had a lot of court stuff starting to be over my head. Long story short, years later with a lawyer that bought me time. I was able to tell my story in court, and instead of getting 3 to 5 years, I could have got 12 years potentially in total. I ended up getting house arrest and then 3 years probation. And it was just all by the grace of God. It was really crazy stuff. But that's exactly what I needed with my personality type, because I'm very like, if I would have got just a little arrest, a little slap on my wrist, I wouldn't have changed my life. So I needed that huge explosion, literally, to be able to jump on a different path, thankfully.
Yeah. And there's so many things that come to mind with that. And part of that is, a few things you mentioned, and maybe at that time you didn't realize that yet you had to quickly adjust, right? You adjusted from the East Coast to the West Coast. Let me see, how can I still do what I want to do, yet let me adjust to that. Although, again, might have not been the right, tactic. Nevertheless, you did that. A lot of times people tend to run away from their problems or their challenges by moving from one place to another, right? And sometimes that might work, sometimes that might not work, sometimes that might bring up something new that you didn't know about yourself that you can do. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I want to talk about here is that, obviously going through what you went through is not an easy thing, right? By no means. And, thankfully everything worked out at the end. How was your mindset? How was your mentality? What was going through your head at that moment where, like, you're potentially facing 12 years, whether it was 3 years, it doesn't matter. You're still going through something that, again, the typical person is not going through. And so that could have either made you or break you. And so obviously it made you. And I want to understand that logic, that mindset, what went on through that period of time, whether it was months or years, to be able to get to where you're at right now.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to, like, everybody seeing the end results of, like, now he's successful, he's got millions, he's huge portfolio and helping out thousands of people through credit. But man, at the time I was broken. I was broken. I was busted, disgusted. I was heartbroken. I was scared, shitless. I was in debt for the first time, and it wasn't even much. Like,
right.
I'm in millions of dollars worth of debt now. Good debt though. There's a big difference,
exactly.
right?
Right.
But back then it was like 11 grand worth of debt because I had an explosion in my apartment that I was renting in Pacific Beach. The helicopters were there. It was everything. So all the windows went out. I had to replace those, and that was like nerve-wracking, scary to me, because I was like, 11 grand worth of debt. Oh God, Yeah. But yeah, man, I was depressed, addicted to marijuana, which it sounds stupid, but it's like too much of anything each and every day. It's like, if it's not taking you down the right path, it's possibly not a good thing.
Right.
And the repetition of it made me, I was doing it for good, bad, ugly, depression, happy times, like everything. So just one of those crazy times. I'm very thankful that what I knew, like, sitting in the hospital, I felt so bad for all the nurses and police and, like, firefighters that, like, they smelled like my burnt body in the elevator taking me up to the hospital. Like, I smelled like, just burnt hair everywhere. It was disgusting. But I literally felt bad for them, thinking, like, if I'm successful enough to be doing well in the wrong industry, misguided in the wrong path, what if I got some guidance, and if God really showed me, like, my full potential and put me on the right track, how successful I could be, not having to look over my shoulder, knowing that I'm doing something right. And thankfully, with the right education, books, YouTube, podcasts like this, I was able to really start getting that right guidance.
Yeah. And that's actually something that I like too. A lot of people believe that the education or being able to start learning about something new, it costs a lot of money. And obviously you can definitely take that route. You can get a mentor. I fully support that, and pay a lot of money to do that. Yet again, though, that shouldn't be a limitation of why I cannot get started. Because again, there are books that literally you can pick up for pennies on the dollar, or even get an audiobook on YouTube for free, or you can look at YouTube videos, or even this podcast absolutely free, where you can learn from people like you that have been able to make it, right? And so is being able to get into that mentality of, yes, you need money to be able to do certain things, for sure. It can definitely help in many different aspects, yet that shouldn't be the belief that if I don't have money, then I cannot learn, or I cannot invest, or I cannot do certain things in my life to get better every day by 1%.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Elon Musk said it in the past very well. It's like all the education in the world, it's out there. Like anything that you want to do, you can research it. If you spend enough time and due diligence actually like going through it, it's all free. So like if you want to spend the time and energy, paying somebody is literally just paying the right person that's already been there and done it and made all the mistakes for you, so that hopefully it can save you time and you can avoid those mistakes and get there faster to the end goal. But if you're not in that situation, if you have more time on your hands instead of money in your pocket, then like there's no excuses. You can definitely take action on all the books, podcasts, YouTube, free resources to actually get there.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about your wins now, and how you were able to build this real estate company and your credit company. How did that started? Obviously, I think it was part of all of the things you were going through. Yet, what was that idea of, I want to get into real estate as opposed to stocks, or maybe you're doing that too? Nevertheless, how did you get started, and then how did you scale up to really creating what you've created?
Yeah. So when I was on house arrest, I was home, and I was allowed to go to I was allowed to go to work. I was allowed to walk my dogs. I was allowed to work out, and I was allowed to go to religious things like to church and stuff. So besides that, though, I spent time at home, and realistically, I was just like, I had to get out of the debt. So I was looking up how to make money. Like, what's the best ways to make money? I just Googled it, and there's like 30 different little, things to jump into. I started reading up on credit, started reading up on real estate, and real estate grabbed my attention more than ever. Like at that time, I probably read maybe like no more than 5 books in my whole life in school, So, but I knew like education was very crucial. So I started reading, and real estate was just grabbing my attention. The more that I was reading on it, I was like, damn, this is crazy. I can't believe like people can actually do this, having no money into deals. The BRRRR strategy has been amazing. It's buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. And I fell in love with it. It literally changed my life. But without credit, I wouldn't have been able to scale as fast as I have, or been protected by contractors because I'm paying with credit cards. Just been able to get there as soon as I have. So I eliminated excuses of not having enough money, because I always had one foot in, one foot out. I was working in restaurants, and I worked 2 restaurants, like 15-hour days, and I saved up $35,000 over 2 years. And that doesn't go that far in real estate, but it was enough to get my foot in the game. And then I utilized my good credit cards to be able to, at 0% interest and so forth, to be able to, purchase the rest of the property, complete all my remodel. And then we've done hard money lending at this point with credit. We started Walmart automation stores, like you name it. We've done some cool stuff with credit, and we teach people how to do it as well now, which it's been a lot more fulfilling than I could have ever imagined. I've always been very like, I need to make myself successful and stuff like that. And then once I started showing other people, like eliminating those excuses, because everybody like raises their hand and realizes like real estate is an awesome asset to be able to build financial freedom, right? But a lot of people put themselves in the boat of, well, once I get successful over here and have enough money, I can put it into real estate. And for me, it just wasn't like that. Like I utilize other resources to get the money, like OPM, other people's money, or credit, to be able to do it. And I wanted to eliminate other people's excuses from that and show them how they could do the same. So once I started teaching it, man, it was the most fulfilling stuff, seeing other people get results like this very quick without any of the heartache and like ABCD type of steps.
Yeah. So it took you 2 years to save about $35,000. So
Yeah.
for people that are listening to, like, again, obviously you put in the work, you put in the time, you put in the effort to save some of that money. And then the 35,000, what was your first investment, or how do you utilize that money in the real estate to begin with?
Yeah, so I was looking for 2 years over here in San Diego, and I was getting bought out by real investors with all cash, no contingencies, close in 10 days. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I do now, very
Yeah.
competitive.
Right.
So I started looking in other states. I found out Ohio. I got recommended by 3 different people in 1 week, started looking over there, found that most of Ohio cash flowed. So that was exciting. It worked with the BRRRR strategy, which I was trying to implement. And I found a small little area that I saw upcoming job growth, population growth, something unique about the area, which was famous Catholic university had no more housing available for juniors or seniors. So saw some really good opportunity there. And I built up a list. I built up a ton of relationships over there, had a lot of leads coming in. I started doing my due diligence, started submitting offers, went over there to view them, and quickly narrowed it down to like 5 properties. I submitted offers on 3, I think. And by that third one, I got 2 approved. And we were going back and forth with negotiation. But one was a single family house. I paid all cash. And then at the same time, I locked in a triplex that I closed exactly 2 months later through financing and credit. And that one started, it had 2 tenants right away.
Mm-hmm.
I put $7,000 into that one, and that kept me afloat because the first one I had a lot of learning curves.
Yeah.
That one needed a full renovation, $30K into it, and I got screwed over on 5 contractors a year later, still wasn't done.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of problems, but a lot of great learning curves, honestly, that helped me tremendously for all my other properties afterwards.
Well, and one thing that I forget who mentioned this, and they were talking about the true success is being able to go from failure to failure to failure, because you're learning from that, right? And then, and the same token, the only failure is when you stop trying, right? And when you stop and when you give up, right? So just because you fell once, or you got a learning curve and a lesson, you got to keep going and then see, okay, what is the next step, right? And as you, I'm, as many people that are in real estate, it's definitely a nice vehicle for wealth, yet you can lose a lot of money in many different aspects. And if you take that one experience of losing that money, you're leaving so much potential on the table, because just as you lose money, you make 10 times more down the line, right?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there are like levels to it, right? So once you go through the first learning curves, like you'll learn to the next level, and you'll have another learning curve, which is okay. Last year, I've been doing this for 6 years now, and very successful with it. But last year I had a learning curve of 160,000 with a bad partner and a bad contract that I didn't have a lawyer over, review it. And but truthfully, I really do feel like God was preparing me for the $1 million deals and making sure that, hey, I don't make this mistake again. And now we have lawyers on standby that will look through all, like, I'll pay tens of thousands just to make sure that it's just part of cost of doing business, so that I'm always protected and I can point the blame at a lawyer instead of my dumbass self and be like, yeah, well, my bank has to take the loss on this one.
Yeah, no, that definitely. So going through all of this and then all the different learning curves and being where you're at now, Tony Robbins refers to them as habits. Do you have any specific habits, rituals that you do on a day-to-day basis to keep you going?
Yeah, so we wake up early. We wake up 5:30 a.m. We go to the gym by 6. Drinking a lot of water each day. Try to read each day as well, and then really, I used to be like more of a workaholic, and certain days it still turns into aggressive types of hours, when we have certain goals that we're trying to hit for clients and for us. But I do like to have like family time at night. I like to just spend quality time with my better half, and so try to treat it almost like a 9 to 5 type of thing. And I know that goes against like the average, entrepreneur trying to, work your face off type of thing. But I do believe there's there should be a good separation of good time management, of friends, family, like, because at the end of the day, why work so hard and build up, like we've built up some awesome businesses, some awesome streams of income. And if we don't sit back and like smell the flowers every once in a while and travel and enjoy life, then what, we're not promised tomorrow. So who knows?
Right. Yeah. We're here today and we're gone tomorrow for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. If people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so Instagram, it would be Instagram, Brandon Elliott Investments, otherwise facebook.com/Brandon Elliott Investor. And then if you guys needed any type of credit repair done for you services, you can check out creditrepairmobile.com. Or if you are looking to get educated in credit, understanding how the banks, lenders are judging you, how to be able to play the game, really fix your credit very quickly. I'm talking 24 hours to 10 business days. With the worst credit profiles, and then be able to build up several 6 figures in business or even 7 figures in credit within 1 year, and then leverage it into real estate or Walmart automation stores. And you can check out our mastermind group and see if it's a good fit. It would be creditcounselelite.com. And there's a lot of great resources on there.
Yeah, awesome. And then you also have a podcast on real estate, right?
Yeah, it's real estate and credit related. So it's Ready, Set, Go, REI. So Ready, Set, Go, Real Estate Investing Podcast. And that's every Monday we have a new episode. So would love any support on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I want to talk a little bit about the, because I think one common theme that I see between different people is that, again, there's so many different challenges that we go through life, and we overcome so many different things. And to me, it kind of keeps coming back to the idea of the mindset. It comes back to, how you mentioned earlier today, you wake up early, you go to the gym, you drink water, you read every day. And to me, a lot of those things are obviously habits, rituals that you do that are also tied into your mental health, your mentality, your mindset. And I'm a firm believer that how you speak to others is as important as how you speak to yourself. And so we are very easy to judge ourselves or say, I fucked up this, or I did this, or I did that, whatever that might be, right? And we're always blaming ourselves for things that, probably consciously or unconsciously we're not paying attention to. And so how has that been for you? Like, obviously you had to have a very major mind shift to be able to be where you're at now. And so how do you take that into consideration for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what I've noticed, honestly, over the years is the real action takers, the real entrepreneurs that are really making progress. They're the ones that will work 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week, and still feel as if they didn't get enough done, and I fall in that, I fall in that category a lot. I think there's a good, I think there's a good time and place to be like driven and have like I'll never have a certain day where there's like nothing to do. Doesn't mean that I won't treat myself of like, hey, my body's not feeling it today, I'm tired, or whatever, like, and I can easily make the excuse, or I can just like let myself go on that day and just take a day for myself. And I do that occasionally, but I think it's like, don't beat yourself up over it, especially like sit back, enjoy the flowers type of thing, realize how much progress you've made, and be okay with that. Even though there's a ton of things to do, it's okay to sit back and also really systemizing things, like don't be a one-man band type of thing, like really, if you can afford it, or if you can't afford it, like build up your credit so that you can start outsourcing and you have other people starting to work hard for you so that you can focus on really income producing activities. And then all the other little stuff you can outsource.
Yeah, no, I definitely love that. My last question for you is, and you've given us a lot of great nuggets, for the people that are watching this show that might be going through some sort of challenge, whatever that challenge might be, what is one or a couple of different things you can say to them that they can start doing to start overcoming that challenge?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, everybody's challenge, everybody's mindsets are, wherever they're at, right? All I would recommend is that you take yourself out of the picture and you really look at your situation, whatever it may be, as a third party person, and really understand that whatever you're going through, whether it is the most traumatic thing in the world, whether it's the most devastating, life crushing, complicated, whatever it could possibly be, just understand that somebody else has either gone through that exact same thing or is something worse, and they're living with it, or they're going through it with a positive attitude. Somebody out there, there's probably many more that are going through it with a negative attitude, and just understand that like it's all how you look at it. It's all about how you deal with it. And you can't change everything. There's a lot of things out of our control, but if you really focus on what you can be in control of, is your mindset, your attitude, and understand that it's contagious. So if you keep a smile on your face and you're positive, then it's going to attract others. It's going to make the situation that much better when it could easily be the opposite. So just make the best out of it.
Yeah, definitely. So no, I love that. Definitely changing the frame, how you look at things can make a big difference too, right?
Yeah.
So no, Brandon, again, I really had a great time having you here on the show. Anything else you want to say before I let you go?
Yeah, man, I love it. I appreciate the platform that you've given me on here, what you've created and what you're doing for all the audience. That's awesome. I really do encourage you to keep doing your thing. And at the end of the day, you know, a lot of people sleep on credit. Credit is like one of the most important things that I've realized, to really be able to take control of your life. Like what the banks have been doing to us for so many years,
Right.
by taking our money and giving us a 0.001% return, and then taking it and lending it out on mortgages, auto, whatever, like personal loans, everything else, and making 25-35% or more. It's like, you know, we can start, once you're educated on this stuff, you can do the same exact thing, just flipping the script, and be able to like literally change the trajectory of your life and your family's life instantly, once you're educated. So there's a lot of cool things that some of our students have done with buying properties for their parents in San Diego, buying cars, planes, RVs, and renting it all out and making a huge return. So you guys can do the same and get the free flights, travel hacks, all that fun stuff.
Oh,
A
that's
lot of
awesome.
awesome stuff.
You know, actually, one thing that just came to mind really quickly, you know,
Yeah.
having that said, right, and for some of them might have a shitty credit, uh, how long for them to be able to kind of turn around and get into a sustainable credit where they can do the things that you're talking about? What is that time frame? I know it's different for every person. What is the average?
Yeah, so that's one of the best questions, because, and that's why it's like a 4-step process within Credit Counsel Elite. It's educate, fix, build, and leverage. Many people, because it's not being taught in school, they gotta start getting to the fix once they're educated. That will take anywhere from 24 hours up to like 10 business days to be able to fix some of the worst credit profiles. I'm talking, we've had bankruptcies removed that quick. We've had late payments, collections, hard inquiries, whatever it could be. And then after that, within 30 days, you can boost up your score, get it to the 800 range. And then once you're there, that's when you set it up for starting to build and do the mass apply for 10 plus credit cards in a day, get over 6 figures in funding on the personal. You can do that every 6 months for you or friends, family, anybody. And then if you're focusing just on business credit, within 7 months or within 1 year, you can actually get up to 7 figures in funding. Wow. Once you have all that funding, it's like, dude, put it to work, make some money, and do hard money lending in real estate where you're protected. Start up Walmart automation stores. You know, we've had certain stores bringing in like 10 to 17K in a month on their first months in profits, and you don't have to do anything. Like, it's crazy.
Wow. No, that's amazing. So it could be as easy as, you know, a year or so to be able to get you there, you know, in that sense. So fixing credit, it will take anywhere from, it's within 30 days. So 10 days typically. And then after that, the very next month, you build it up. And so I'm talking, if you're already at the low 700s to 800 range, we can get you 6 figures in funding within 30 days. Mm-hmm. And if you aren't there and you're in the 500s or low 600s, then say within 2 months, we can get you 6 figures in funding and get your score up in about a month.
or so to the 800 range. So there's many ways to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, well, Brandon, thank you again for being here. Really appreciate that, and glad to have you here on the show.
Appreciate you, Caesar. Stay blessed. Thanks.
Yeah, definitely. For the rest of you guys definitely need to check out Brandon. Check him out on all his social media. Connect with him for either credit or real estate or anything else. Check out his podcast, and I'll see you guys at the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Goodbye.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.